All right, all right, all right. There we are. Good day. It is Monday, June 9th, 2025, and we are still in session, believe it or not. Welcome to the HEF podcast. That is the podcast of the Home Education Foundation, where we talk about all things home education, especially here in the state of Florida. The Home Education Foundation is an organization that was started by our beloved Brenda Dickinson, who is with us today. And it's an organization that she and Craig helped start in the early 90s to continue the work that they had started in the 80s with the home education bill that became home education law. And Brenda has continued through the Home Education Foundation to fight for parents' rights, to gain access to all of the things that other students and other attendance options have access to, like Bright Futures, dual enrollment, transcripts, career and technical opportunities and options and the like. And we're so thankful for the 40 plus years of work that she has dedicated herself to it. And now I, Jason Crawford, am kind of taking the torch and moving forward. And that's why we do all the fun, fantastic digital things like podcasts. So as we get started, we'll say thank you to our top sponsors. We have Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and the TBHC Group. That's the Tampa Bay the Tampa Bay Homeschool Conference Group. There we go. Sorry, I'm battling a migraine today, so I'm a little off. And their conference is coming up in July, so we're really looking forward to being there for that as well. But a special thanks to all our top sponsors. We appreciate all the work that you do and making the work that we do possible. Many people don't know it, but we are only funded by the support of people who kind of capture the vision of what it is that Brenda has been doing and what we continue to do. And they support us. And whether that's families at $5 a month or $10 a month, or some of the larger companies that appreciate the freedom of what we do and the ilk of homeschoolers that have traditionally had a strong work ethic and good character and things that they like as employers, and they say, hey, we want to see more of that, so we'll sponsor into you, and we're happy to have them behind us as we do our work. All right, with all of that being said, hello, Brenda.
Good Monday.
Yeah, how are you? I'm well. Okay. I'm well. Good.
I'm recovering from a vacation.
Yeah. I think I'm supposed to be on one right now, but it doesn't feel like it. Oh man. I'm up in Georgia with Crystal. She's at an authors convention, the South is it Southwestern? I don't know. So SWA. Yeah, it's SWA. So I don't know. It's something, maybe it's the Southern Writers Conference. Maybe that's what it is. Or something. I don't know the name of it. I'm just here because she's pregnant and sick, and I am doing all this stuff to take care of her. So she's getting all the awards. So she's apparently now an award-winning author, and that's very exciting for her. So we're here. That's why my background and everything is so different, and I don't have my microphone set up or anything like that. But we're doing what we can do. And you said your vacation was so intense that you need a rest from your rest.
Yes.
That's good. Well, it sounds like, were you with family and friends?
Yeah, I went from the FPEA conference, which was awesome, and you did a fabulous job of recognition and passing the hammer.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And I thought it was supposed to be a torch, but it was interesting. We had a hammer, so you'll have to explain what all that was about. Other people of your generation probably know what that is, but I was a little surprised. Anyway, it was great, and I think we had a good conference, letting people know that the work of the Home Education Foundation is going to be carried on in great style, and there's more technology involved. It's time for me to retire. I don't want to learn all of this stuff. And Jason is so on top of it and is building such a community of people who support home education and support families. And I don't know how to describe it. On the keynote that they recognized me and we talked about passing the torch, it really hit me. There was a family, there were about, I'd say maybe 10 to 15 families after we started working on the home education legislation that were visible. There were a lot of them in hiding. So we really didn't know numbers. But as I stood there in front of this audience, that was a huge auditorium with, what would you say, 3,000 or 4,000 people there? I'm not a good judge.
Yeah, I don't know how many were there that night, but overall they had about 18,000, I think, at the convention. So,
and to think that it was illegal to home educate your children in 1984, and there were at least 5 families. You know, all of this was in hiding because people were terrified of being found truant and having to, you know, be prosecuted for that. And there were 5 that we knew of that were being prosecuted. And to look out over that vast sea of people and realize the freedom that home educators now enjoy, it was just really, I was speechless.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't have to say anything. Just stand there and smile.
Well, that freedom is hard fought, and it's something that it's still, while it is still much larger and much more commonplace, it's still not widely understood. I was speaking with some people who were here at the convention, and they, some of them are from Florida, actually, and we got to talking. One of them was the lobbyist. So funny, small world. The lobbyist for the University of Florida's something with agricultural projects at the college, and they were making sure that they keep getting the funding. And so she and I chatted for quite a bit. But there was this very not a widespread understanding of what homeschooling is or what home education is, you know. And I think that matters. I think it does. There's a lot of misconceptions still, and we still have to work through some of those, especially as laws are made or proposed. Having those conversations in ways in which they're difficult and they take time. And I hate to use the word nuanced because it's like thrown around all over the place nowadays. But it is. There's a lot that kind of goes into the freedom of educating in your own way. And if everybody has that, that's going to be wild and diverse. And we want that. We like that. I think as a whole, it breeds innovation. It gives an incubating place for new ideas and fresh ideas and different ways to grade and ways that work for your children or propel them from one thing to the next. And that's lost when we look at things from a narrow viewpoint and only see, I guess, the options others have through my lived experience. And for most people, that's public school, right? And they can't imagine what that must even be like. You know, I had a couple of people who we were sitting at the table with, and they were like, "Oh man, I could have never. My kids, they wouldn't have survived it. one or both of us would have torn each other apart." And I'm like, "You say that, and maybe that's true. Maybe that's true, but that's not true for everybody." And there are people who thrive in home education environments that would be completely suffocated or bored to tears, or you name, like, pick the other ill. And there's pros and cons to both. And there's just not, while it's popular, there's still just not a great understanding of it. And that kind of really hit me when we're at this convention, because we go to all the homeschool convention. Those are all homeschooling people. They all get it, you know, and they're all talking about their different ways of doing things. And then I hit a conference like this, and they're not homeschoolers. None of them are, you know, and it's wild to hear their reaction to it, and get that feedback, because it still reminds me that you've done an amazing job, Brenda, over the last 40 years. But we still do have real work to do, very serious and real work to do, to help people understand the roots of it, where we started, what those challenges were, what they continue to be, and how to navigate through them. I think that's critical. I think it's critical. So,
Well,
and I'm
the
here for
key is every family is different.
it.
Every
Mm-hmm.
child is different, even in the same family.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to give parents the ability to customize the education for that child. One size does not fit all in
Yeah.
education, but we want to put it in those boxes: ages, grades, peer pressure, benchmarks, all of those
Yes.
things. Maybe that works for the system, but it doesn't work for the child. And
Right.
so you're not going to have every third grader ready to read, contrary to what the push is. Now, if they
Mm-hmm.
stay in the system, they have to be able to read or they can't function in the fourth grade. But
Mm-hmm.
but early on, after the law was passed, we had some friends that called us and said, they were friends afterwards, but I didn't know them in the beginning.
Mm.
Our sixth grader is at one of the best private schools in Tallahassee. He leaves home every morning saying, "Mama, pray for me because I can't read." This is
Mm.
sixth grade. But by the time he was in the eighth grade, he was reading ferociously and
Yeah.
at grade level books, not beginner
Oh, that's
books.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the same thing with his math. He was tested at FSU and they said, "Oh, he can't learn math." But a few years in home education, he was the top student when he went back to public school in ninth grade
Nice.
in algebra. So all children do not develop at the same rate. And you've
Yes.
got to give them time to be able for their two sides of their brain to integrate, to work together, and their eyes and their brain to
Yeah.
all function. And if you don't, then you're going to frustrate that child and give
Yeah.
him a terrible self-esteem. And that's really hard to rebuild when you've destroyed it. So home
Truly
education
is.
just gives you the freedom.
Yeah.
And I'll fight for that till my dying day. Now, I'm not going to come walk the halls with you and keep up with every amendment and everything. That's your job. But
Yes,
if it
ma'am.
comes down to testimony and committee, I'll go fight it till I can't walk the Capitol.
I love you, Brenda. And, it's not a diet pill. There is no one size fits all. That kind of customized approach is critical. And I did have the interesting experience of talking to a constable from Texas, who's an elected official, and he was talking about school safety and some of the important aspects of that and kids these days. And he was telling me some horror stories about the way that kids treat the adults in the school environment and out of the school environment and stuff like that. And I was just shaking my head like, it's wild because here he is, doesn't understand homeschooling, and he's like, well, I guess that's all right in this, and then he turns and he's like, kids these days are horrible. I'm like, well, how good is the socialization if it's turning out all of these kids that you can't stand? Maybe there's I don't know. And I thought, well, some parents in homeschooling get it wrong too, though, and kids can thrive there, but they can also diminish, and it really does come down to parental involvement. And I think that's why I've been so keen lately on kind of shifting the dialogue away from the word homeschooling and into parent educating, because it really is about the parents being involved and taking the lead and taking their ideas and infusing their time and their ideas into their children. And he told me a really heartwarming story at one point about his dad, because his dad was the principal of the school he grew up in, and how there was this kid who was a bully, and one day, he confronted the bully, and because the bully was like beating the mess out of this other kid, and his dad happened to walk up at the point where he was confronting the bully. So his dad, paddled him right in front of everybody to set an example. But when he got home, he went to his son and he goes, "That was a really good left hook." And I was like, that's parental involvement. That's the parental involvement from a time where we had moments like that, and we took the time for that. We slowed down for some of that stuff, and I think the real key, the real like secret to the sauce, really does come down to active, interactive, and involved parents. And I think that that's really the aim of homeschooling. And I think that's kind of what bothers me about the new wave of homeschooling, where it's, oh, we're starting, Sally started a homeschool and we're all going to take our kids to her homeschool and do da 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 da. And I'm like, that's the same thing as public school. You're just dropping them off at a different location. And the challenge of the lack of parental involvement is still there. We've got to keep those core things about what it means to be a homeschooler. We've got to keep those in focus and understand what it is that makes homeschooling so great when it's great. And it is truly that parents are involved, they're active, interactive, and they're investing their time into their own kids. And there's no replacement for that. Like you said, you get them to that place of confidence in life, they're gonna blossom. And I've seen it. We had the two young people on that we were interviewing, and they'll be back. But man, when you speak with them, they're eloquent, they're thoughtful, they're confident, and it's great. It's great to see that kind of come through. So, all right, I have other stuff for us to talk about. I didn't know that's how we were going to start, but it's always fun. It's always fun to see where these go. We owe our community a legislative update, so why don't we do that? If you look at the news, you're going to see crazy stuff everywhere, from people standing on burning cars and riots, and it's going to seem like the world's on fire and it's a mess. And that might be true. But in my little part of the world and what I'm focused on, we've got to fight, and we've got a way to stand up, and we do that. And so here's how. We work in the Capitol, we build relationships, we educate people on what it is that we do and what we're all about and the importance of our freedoms, and then we stand firm with a united voice. And we've been watching the legislative updates. First off, we'll say congratulations to Commissioner Diaz on his most recent appointment as interim president of the University of West Florida. And then he's followed as commissioner by a man that they all call Stasi, who I've had the pleasure of getting to kind of sort of know. He's helped us here and there on a couple of things, and we're very appreciative of that. And he will be stepping in as the new Commissioner of Education with a promise to focus on education over indoctrination. And, from our standpoint, he was very helpful in addressing some of the sports-related issues that we were working on during this past session. So he's a good man, and we look forward to kind of seeing the hard work that he's put in behind the scenes be equally put into his new role and what he does with it. So congratulations to both of those. As far as the budget in the House and Senate, we're still waiting on a budget. I heard DeSantis speak this morning, and he was like, it's like we're outside of the Vatican with the smoke, and we're like, do we have a budget today? Do we have a budget today? And I was like, that's where we're at. They're going to reconvene today at 1. And then I think the chairs are going to start going back and forth again, and we'll see more as it evolves. If you haven't been following it, we have been posting regularly and keeping our community up to date in our Discord server. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, I highly recommend joining our Discord. The link for it should be in the chat or the description of this somewhere, but then also on our website, flhef.org. If you're listening on a different program, go to our website, flhef.org, find the button for Discord at the top. There's conversations happening all up in there, and it's great. And we have the bullet points for, what's in the negotiations. I'll rattle them off here as well. But if you want the up to the moment information, that's where you're going to get it. Especially if you want to avoid the rumor mill and actually know the know of what's happening inside. We upload the documents, we cite the sources, we show you the links, and then we put the bullet points together so you have the information that you need. So the issues that are still alive in the negotiation. So the Senate met and the House met, and they negotiated over, here are all the bills that education touched. Among the issues that are important to us, what do we keep? What do we toss? What can we agree on? What can we not agree on? And as they rattled through the different areas of that, the things that I think our community, because remember, these bills, the budget is not just the education budget, it's the everything budget. And the education part that we watch isn't just homeschool education budget, it's the whole education budget. So our portion of it is smaller. But as that, I think our community is interested in knowing whether or not digital devices are going to be included. As of right now, digital devices are still alive in the negotiation. They have met and agreed, and that we will look to see how that language lands in the conforming bill as they then meet to pull all of the language together into one big thing that they're going to pass. But as of right now, digital devices are included for PEP. They're already included in the other scholarships. So they have also kept alive from Bill 7030 the affirming. Parents need to affirm that they are in a participation in the scholarship program as a means of tracking where the students are and what they're in and when they're in a program and not in a program. So there was a line that asked parents to affirm on a regular basis that they're in. What is not any longer in the negotiation is the 10 payments. So the 4 quarterly payments is the Senate kind of gave up their position on the 4 quarterly payments and said, we'll allow the House to have what they wanted. The 4 quarterly payments is it, and not the 10. That was going to be a change that was going to affect not just the homeschooling scholarships, but all public school payment methods, private school payment methods, and homeschool payment methods. So that has been set aside. They will still make you affirm that you are enrolled in one and a test, but they're going to keep the 4 quarterly installments. As a means of also being able to track, universal student IDs is also still in there. So that will become the responsibility of the Department of Education to make sure that every student in these programs has a universal student ID. Pretty much all of the methods already have that except for PEP. And so this kind of just brings PEP in alignment with those, but it was needed. There was a clarifying part of the statute that addressed how funds revert back to the program when they're not in use, whether it's through inactivity or fraudulent use, or, it had a bunch of defining characteristics. So the details of that criteria is not spelled out, but they have agreed that that is an important thing that they're going to address. So in the conforming bill, we will see language that addresses how those funds revert back. Among that was the volatile issue that I know many homeschoolers were not in favor of, which was that the PEP funds would revert back to the program immediately upon graduation. So that language and that section is still alive. From my communication with our contacts up at the Capitol, they have kind of told me that they're not leaning so hard in that specific approach as to what the outcome will be, but they're looking at listening to the feedback that we gave them from the homeschool community and making some adjustments that are more in alignment with keeping that a little bit longer and accessible to families. So I don't have any specifics on exactly what the language will look like. I just know that they have told us that they've heard us and that they also see the validity of those concerns. And so when we do see the language, we can expect it to not look like it did, but to have a different, maybe a little bit, I don't know what their idea is yet exactly. So they've just said, we heard you. Let's see, what is also still alive is that there is the idea of creating 2 application windows. So one for the spring, which is where PEP currently is, and FESUA and all the other scholarships, and then also one for the fall. So having 2 application windows and then a single application process. And as they do that, since there'll be one single application process, they're going to move a lot of the application language from the different statutes into one statute, which is 1002.421, and they're going to have 1002.395 for PEP and 1002394 for the FESUA scholarship. Be more about this, what the scholarships entail, and not so much about the application process, where that will be handled in the other statute. So if you want the details on that, it can be kind of granular. It can be something that you might have to read a little bit here, go back, and then come back and read a little bit. Or if there are clarifying questions that you don't get to ask on the podcast, or you don't think of, or you're not a person who watches live, and you do have questions, you can ask them below the video on whatever platform that you're on. But the number one best place to do that is to go over to our Discord and find the thread. Because what I do is every time there's an update, I'll post a thread, and then people communicate below the thread. And whenever there's a new update, I lock the old one, and the new one becomes where the information goes, so that you can kind of see the archive, but you can't interact with the old stuff, so that the conversation stays on the fresh stuff. But any kind of questions that you have, you can find answers there. Let's pivot to Discord for a moment, because I think I've had a lot of calls this week about Discord, and a lot of parents kind of asking me, like, what is it? Or not so much parents, but some of our vendor tier supporters and evaluators and stuff from our community going, hey, how do I do this, or how do I do that? And some who have been brand new to Discord, and they're like, I don't even know what this is, but my teenage son says it's great. So what is this, right? So I'm going to tell you.
No longer the lobbyist.
I'll tell you in kind of a breakdown of what it is. In our Discord server, you're going to see a bunch of front-loaded things like welcome to Discord. You'll see the rules for engagement. You'll see a tech support channel where if you have technical questions like this, I'm looking for this, but it's not showing up, where do I find that? There's a chat there for that. And then below all of that are where you'll see the category drop downs. So there's a category drop down for home education that houses general discussion. It houses a place for new parents who are looking for help from veteran homeschoolers. If you're a older homeschooler, I say older, I'm more experienced homeschooler, and you have done it for a while and you have some insights to offer, we have a place for you in our Discord server to get in there and talk with those parents who are new and let them know what you have to offer and share insights that are helpful. We have, let me look here. We have a place for evaluators. I think one of the best things about this is that it is a chat channel, so you can have announcements that get posted, but then there are threads or forums where people can post topical questions and have a discussion underneath that emerges, and then can be kind of siloed, closed, or opened. That it makes them easier to follow, essentially. Like, there's a lot of fancy words, but when you get into a single wall of text and then people are having multiple conversations over the top of each other, it can be difficult to follow who's talking to who and how that works. So what they do is they have collapsible threads so that you can actually communicate inside the thread, and it becomes more efficient for communication purposes. So that's great. Our evaluators area, well, before we get there, let me just say that we've got the home education collapsible category with its own Q&As and areas. We've got a scholarships drop down so that there's a place for PEP parents to ask specific questions about PEP. One of the ones we've been getting a lot lately is, do I have to send in my letter of intent? I keep being told I have to send in my letter of intent to apply for PEP. And then, what do I do? First off, no, do not do that. But if you're looking for that accurate answer, and especially if you want to know, a citing from statute or something that helps me know that that's the right answer, that PEP Q&A is where I would go. You have questions that you want answered, post them there. We have one for the FESUA scholarship as well. I'm working right now on a Q&A for that has been provided to us by Kristen Carlisle. She's awesome. She runs one of the largest UA Facebook group communities, and she's kind of helping us flesh out some of the details for our UA section. in our community. So we look forward to seeing any of the parents there that want to be there. We have a specific channel for legislative recaps, where older year by year content can kind of get archived there. And then we have a place for evaluators. And this is what I'm really excited about. There's a chat channel for evaluators. It says meet there. It says meet evaluators, and that is locked to everybody on the server. The only people who can interact in that channel are evaluators, and that's for them to post their information to say that they're available. And then parents can go and look at that list and see who's the who. And then there are chat channels below that where you can try to talk to someone and say, hey, I'm looking for an evaluator. I'd like to meet with so-and-so, or can anybody? And then below that, there's actual voice rooms. So if you've been using Zoom for some of your stuff, or you've been using, Google Meet or anything like that, you can actually meet here. And it'll allow you to communicate through voice with each other, share videos, share screens, and etc. And all you need to do is communicate with an evaluator, set up a time, and we have made I think there's about 5 meeting rooms available. If we end up needing more, we can create more later, but it's a fantastic option in a way of I'm just trying to look for ways to keep support for the community going, so that you guys can benefit from more than just the nerdy statute stuff, but then still have access to the nerdy statute stuff that we provide. There's been a lot of interaction there. It's starting to grow rapidly, so I would highly encourage everyone to get in and get involved. It is, I would say, like the combination of the old school phone tree, so that when we're able to post legislative updates or important messages or announcements, our community leaders can get that out. There's also a place in there for community leaders who are co-op leaders or home education instructional leaders, etc., to go and ask questions. And it's not available to anyone who's not a leader. This is a leaders only kind of chat, so that they can help share ideas about how they run their programs and what's helpful. And it's really good. And then there's another one that I'm very excited about, is I have been trying to collect attorneys, not like pets, or Pokemon. But we had some parents who were interested in lawsuits this year because of the sports issues that we were working on in legislation. And we didn't have any attorneys who were knowledgeable of homeschooling and then willing. And then I thought, man, we should get the word out. So as we did, some have started to reach out to me, and I have created a private area in the Discord for lawyers only, so that they can not be accessed by everybody. They can only be accessed by the board members of HEF and the admin at HEF. And what we can do is, as we identify key issues that are emerging and where parents need them, we can take that, post it in there to them, and then they can raise their hand and say, yes, I would like to send that letter, or I would like to be the one to send a letter for that one, or I'll take that one. And we'll work with them, obviously, to help prep all of the information that we have from statutes and take our nerdiness and help prep any documentation that we can. But we often need many hands making light work. And so it's nice to have some attorneys who are already jumping in, which is great. That's fantastic. So I'm looking forward to the big picture of what this becomes as it continues to grow, and to be a boon to homeschooling families across Florida in a way that our phone trees couldn't quite touch back in the 90s. I love those phone trees. They were really helpful, but this takes interactivity to a whole new level. And I'm excited about what we'll be able to accomplish when we all kind of get together and find that unity and community. So Deline says, I'm not getting notification when there's an announcement or update. So yeah, by default, I believe that the notifications are not turned on. So you can right click a channel and turn it on. If you're on a mobile device, you can go to your settings. If you long press on the server, and it should drop down like your notifications as a setting, and then you can say what channels you'd like to follow the notifications for. And I did that on purpose because as the community grows and everybody's having different conversations in different places, if you had all notifications turned on, your phone would be a mess. And so as a gift to you, I have turned off notifications by default for anyone who joins. So you will need to turn them on per channel that you want to follow. And you can manage that easily through either a web browser, Discord app on your computer opens up the program, or on your mobile device. And you just long press and open the notifications, and you can pick which channels you'd like to follow. So, yeah, great question. That's a good question, even for something like our tech support. So if you have questions like that and you're like, man, I don't know how to do it, I'm not seeing the notifications, ask our tech support. I have dubbed my nephew in. He's a techie and he's a young one and he has a new baby. So I'm hoping to pull him even further in as we continue working together. But he's my tech guy who's kind of volunteering his time to help me smooth out all of the kinks. Because as you can tell, this is a massive undertaking and a massive project. Among all the other things that I do, I am exhausted. That might explain why I have my headaches. But I love you guys.
Add right now, we need those kind of people, and we need them on board so we can pay them and keep them engaged.
Yeah.
And as we grow, people have got to realize that the free service that we offer is really not free. Somebody is making tremendous sacrifices to be able to keep this going and to keep our freedoms. And, I never can grasp, and maybe it's because people don't know what goes on through the Home Education Foundation. I didn't just fall. That was my camera movement. Sorry. Had a little humor in the midst of all of this. It's not it's not embedded in my computer screen. It's sitting on top of it. So sometimes it moves around.
Gotcha.
Anyway, the concept of, somebody else is paying, but you're the one benefiting from it. And I'm just saying, if every parent paid $10 donation per child to the Home Education Foundation for the work that is being done this year on their behalf, then imagine, I think the last count we had was something like 154,000 kids being homeschooled. That's not PEP students. And the PEP parents are getting money to home educate their children.
Yeah.
And $10 for each child is a drop in the bucket to them. It's 2 cups of coffee a year. I'm talking about a year. We've just got to get the concept of this has got to be funded by parents who appreciate the work that is being done. And Jason and Crystal, as wonderful as they are, they're human. They have children, they have a family, they have Jason's working another job on the side to be able to do what he's doing. And I'm overwhelmed, honestly, with what you are doing, because I've been in your shoes, but we weren't even using technology then. We were doing the phone trees, which I laugh because yes, the connections are great, but half the time when we used trees without the internet, so you could send out the document, the message was nothing like what it started, and it was negative. And I just, what's gone into making it free here in Florida. At this point, there have been so few people who understand the need to have a lobbyist in Tallahassee. Yeah. You wouldn't know accurate information. I'm getting text occasionally. We don't want to have to be background screened as individual homeschoolers. Well, that's not on the table.
That's not on the table. Yeah.
And so all of this stuff that is out there that is not accurate is very frustrating. If you want accurate information, if you want to make sure your rights are protected, and you want to keep somebody in the Capitol speaking on your behalf, you've got to make donations. And $10 a month is not going to drain anybody's budget. And if you did $10 per year per child, that's not going to put you in the, deficit. Do $10 a month for, until you've covered each child. But parents have got to realize what we do is critical to their freedoms. And whether you understand it or not, take my word for it, it is absolutely necessary. Just the battle that we fought for PEP last year, right down to Saturday before they adjourn the next Friday and finalize the budget, was we were able to maintain parents' rights to spend their PEP money on all kind of activities. The legislature was just, and I don't like this word, but it's descriptive, hell-bent on making sure they were limited to just core subjects. And it would have devastated the PEP. And no amount of, calls or whatever, unless you were targeting the right people at the right time, would we have won our message. And so there's no way to impress parents enough about the need to support HEF and HEF Connect.
It's constant, the work, and we need our community. We need their support, but we also need our community, because there are ways in which our representatives and senators don't know all of the nitty-gritty stories that are going on. They don't know what happened to you when you got stopped and asked questions by the police, or whenever the superintendent or the district told you this, or the home education office in Broward or Palm Beach was telling parents that they could do this, and then the district told them that they couldn't, and how they're unaware. The legislators are unaware, by and large, of these small experiences that you're having in these pocketed areas. And so you help us whenever you hop into our Discord or our forum or wherever and tell us the things that are going on, and we get involved with you and advocate for you, because then when we go to speak with them, we have cited sources and cases that we're able to go, hey, this is what's happening here, and that's what's happening there, and you should know about it, and here's how it is happening. And so we need that from you, but you need that voice in the Capitol too. And that's what we are for you, because you're off at soccer practice and having to do this and getting to testing over there and having to fulfill that. And then we had a field trip, and your lives are busy, and rightfully so, mine is as well. But I have dedicated myself to following Brenda's legacy and being the voice in the Capitol. So I need you, but I'm very keenly aware that you need me too, because if that voice doesn't find its way to them, and they don't hear about those pocketed moments, and you don't have a way of standing out above them, you're just one of many thousands, hundreds of thousands of emails or letters or calls. And their schedule has a very set amount of time that's into it and limited. And as I build relationships with them, and they agree to give me parts of their time, and then I have the voice from you about what's important, I can bridge that gap and be effective. And that's what we all need. But it doesn't happen by mistake. It's very strategic. It takes a lot of effort and planning and time. And so Brenda is correct. The more support that we have, the better. If we even had a fraction of the home education community in Florida donating at $5 a month, we would have a decent budget with which we can pull on additional support for the admin and the communication tools. And you'd see more content going out that's on our Facebook and on our website that would be helpful, because as a single person doing everything, there's only so much I can put my hands on and do, and I don't entrust it to the automated AI to perform any of those tasks for us. So I either rely on volunteer help, or we can try to find some paid internships to offer some of our students, which I'm definitely looking forward to that. We have a sponsor for 2 of those. So we're going to activate those soon. So hopefully we'll see more kind of come out from that. And there's always that growth that we're looking to do so that we can be more effective. And it's just hard to do without funds.
And one of the things that you and I've talked about is motivating the homeschool community to get involved in campaigns. And we need to build a team pack or one of those other organizations that can really hone in and focus on home education. Because if you've given time and energy to the elected officials, they want to hear from you. So there's so many aspects to what we're doing, and people are just not aware of it. And I think you had mentioned maybe creating a Discord channel for, did I get the right words? Discord channel?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To, for people in the local areas to share about the people that they know running for office. And so
that's right.
It's not the Home Education Foundation taking a stand to support one candidate over another candidate.
Correct.
But it's the locals that are deciding, because they've met with them, they've talked with them, they know their stands on education freedom and home education. And so it's better than us making those decisions. So I'm excited about that channel because I've never had anything like that before.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that we can do. And the more support that we have, the more creative ideas like that we can put into practice so that they're actually available. And I look forward to that. Let me get back to my notes and see where we are, because I want to make sure we get through everything. Oh, by the way, speaking of support, the Discord server, there are other Discord servers that I've seen. I was doing research on how some of the other ones are set up, and they will allow you access to like the first couple of channels, but to get full access, they make you pay. We don't do that. Ours is free and accessible to all of the home education families in Florida. So yet one more reason to support if you feel so inclined, because we don't charge membership fees and we don't charge for our services. This is something that we're doing to help both our legislative process and our home education community find that balance. So that's that. All right. I think from there, okay. Yeah, I think we've hit all of the major issues that I had for us to kind of hit today. I'm really excited about where everything is going, and we will keep things posted in our Discord community as we kind of move forward with the legislative process. I've also been kind of I follow all of our legislators on Twitter, or it's called X now. But it's been very interesting to me, some of the things that I've uncovered by seeing who they follow, and understanding the kind of connections that the propaganda machine has as it pipes out like articles in mass. Most of them, they don't like homeschooling. They don't like that people are out there doing their own thing and they can't control any of it. And we like that. We like that a lot. We love that. And so that's what we're about, and we want to continue to support that. But we'll dive into more topics like that maybe on next week. For this week, I'm going to let you guys have your time back, and I appreciate everybody's involvement. Let's go to our top sponsors one more time to say thank you to them. Thank you to Arete, FPEA, Fisher Precious Metals, and TBHC Group. Y'all are truly fantastic and awesome. And, we've talked a lot about support, so I will also say thank you. There are a number of families that are supporters. And if you're wondering if anybody in your group does support HEF, ask them. Say, hey, do you? If you don't, I do. Or, have those conversations, but just ask and see, because you might find that they do, or you might find that they have no clue, and you could educate them. But either way, when I see the support come in from the different families, it really does help. It has an emotional impact of letting me know that the causes that we're championing are also yours and that you're with us. And it's a feel-good moment. The money is important too. It helps us do all the things that we need to do. By all means, lobby tools is expensive. So, and so is many of the other aspects of what we do. But the money is helpful, but it's nice to see the names come through. And then especially when I run into you at conventions and I see you at various places, it I really enjoy making those connections. So thank you all for your support and thank you for watching the podcast. And if you like, comment, and share to the people that you think would find it interesting, we would also appreciate that. And without further ado, have your Mondays back. And we'll keep you posted next week. We'll follow up next week with another HEF podcast.